we go. I do want to talk about well, actually, we're just going to start from the beginning because I'm going to have to cut all of that out of the YouTube video anyway. So here we are at the Festival of New Musicals Submissions 101. I am Mark Blankenship, the New Works Director of the National Alliance for Musical Theater. I am the producer of the festival. And as we get started, I want to talk through the goals for the festival. In the short term, it is our goal to connect producers, by which we mean either individual producers or theater companies around the country, with writers so that our shows can extend their development trajectory. The long-term goal is to expand the musical theater repertoire and advance the musical theater art form, by which I want to stress here that we mean the festival is designed to support individual shows, but also to support writers as artists. We know that writers are more than one show, and we want to create relationships between writers and producers that allow them to be nurtured over the entirety of their careers. We are dedicated in each festival to showcasing quality new musicals with a wide range of subject matter, styles, and concepts. We want to nurture composers, lyricists, and book writers of all identities and backgrounds. We take that very seriously. We want to stimulate networking opportunities for NAMT members and theater professionals so that the people who are members of NAMT can meet artists. We want to provide a forum to spark new collaborations and ventures in the field. And we want to, of course, encourage future productions of new musicals. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's planned for the 2022 festival. At the moment, the 34th festival is scheduled to take place on October 20th and 21st, 2022. That may shift by a week, but for now, we should assume that that's going to happen. Please do take note of that now. Those dates are going to be very important throughout the entire application process, because we do expect that all writers who are selected will be present for those dates. We currently assume that the festival will take place in person in New York City, but we will be prepared for all options. And if we are in person, we ask that all writers be available to attend both the festival and rehearsals in the general 2-week period leading up to the festival. It won't necessarily be exactly 2 weeks, but we are going to be working with you and your team to schedule your rehearsals. And we do ask that all writers attend those rehearsals in person. If the event is digital for whatever COVID-related reason, then rehearsals, recording, and editing will likely take place from late August to mid-October. But for now, we are crossing our fingers and hoping that that will not be the case for the 2022 festival. We are about to enter the portion of our webinar where we look carefully at the application, and I want to remind you up front that anything that you see here can be re-accessed by visiting namt.org/festival, as you see here, and this will be present for you at the end of the webinar as well. First, let's talk a little bit about whether your show is eligible to participate in our festival. The first question, is your show complete? By which I mean, do you have a finished draft of your show? I do not mean, are you finished working on your show for the rest of time? The script is locked. No one will ever touch it again. That's actually not what we want at all. We do want, of course, a show that has room to grow, because we want you to be able to use your festival time to develop the piece and see how it looks on its feet in the presentation that we create. However, it is crucial that there be at least a fully finished draft of your show. If it is not completely, if a full draft of the show is not finished, you are not eligible to submit it to the festival, and we do encourage you to consider resubmitting when the draft is completed. The next question, do you have demos of the songs from your show? I do not mean that you need a demo for every single song, but it is important as we go through our application review process that we hear music from your score. And those demos can just be piano vocal. It doesn't matter. That's fine. Plenty of shows have made it into the festival with just that. But we do need to be able to hear something of how the music actually lives and sounds in order to make an appropriate adjudication of your application. So if you do not yet have demos, then at this time you will not be eligible. Has your show been on Broadway, or is it scheduled to go to Broadway? Congratulations. But if that is true, you are not eligible for our festival. Does the show contain any pre-existing material, or is it based on source material? This is an important question. If the answer is no, well then fine, you've written a completely original musical, that's fine. But if you are basing your show on material that's in the public domain, also fine. But if you are basing your show on material that is not in the public domain, You must be able to demonstrate in your application that you have explicit permission to use this material in your work. We do need documentation that you have the rights, the underlying rights or permissions to use that pre-existing material. So the next question, is your show currently being licensed through one of the major licensing houses? If it is, then you are not eligible for our festival. But also, congratulations, that's fantastic. We wish you all the best. And finally, has your show been submitted 3 times to the festival? If you have submitted your show 3 times, that show is no longer eligible for consideration, but you can of course submit another show. So let me now take a moment to pause and see if anyone has any questions about eligibility for the festival. Yes, Fred, I'm going to put you on mic and allow you to ask your question. Hello, Fred, you can unmute and ask.
Yes, my musical is based on a book that I wrote. Do I need to give myself permission through documentation?
Great question. No, you don't. If you are the creator of the source material, then you're fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Colette.
Hang on one second. I'm back on mute again. Hang on.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. If it's based on a life story, a character from the 1920s, but none of the primary material is utilized, is that okay?
Yes, that is fine. Historical figures who, so long as you're not adapting a specific biography or film or play, then you're fine.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that we're good. So now we're going to move along. Oh, James, your show had an off-Broadway run. You have written and updated with about 50% new material. Yes, that is fine. You are eligible. You will be asked to list that information, but it will not affect your eligibility for participation in the festival. Okay. So this is now what you're going to see when you go to the NAMT website to start your festival application. The important thing here, please note that we are asking you to add notifications at submittable.com to your email contacts. All of our communication with you throughout the application process, especially in round 1, is going to come through Submittable. So it's very important that you have this email address cleared in your system. You also may want to consistently check if you use Gmail, things like the promotions tab, because submittable emails can sometimes get set to spam or promotions. So do keep an eye on that if you have submitted. And if you see something from Submittable filtered into those places, make it set the permission so that Submittable will go to your primary inbox. You also will be asked to create a login on Submittable. You will have your own login identity. If you happen to be submitting more than 1 musical to the festival, which you are allowed to do, we would encourage you to submit under 2 different email addresses so that you can have 2 Submittable accounts and keep track of the 2 applications separately. You will be able to reference and edit your application as much as you would like until you have marked it fully submitted. And we at NAMT will not be able to see your application until it has been submitted to us. So you do not need to worry that anyone on NAMT's end is going to see a work in progress or see something that you weren't quite ready to be shown. Next, you're going to be asked to submit basic information about your show. I think this is fairly straightforward. We just need to know the title. We need to know if it's based on anything, as I said before. If your show has had previous titles, we do need to know that. And we also want to have you here list all of the writer credits. But let me take a moment now to talk about what I mean when I say we want to know the writer credits. All of the information that is going to identify you and your collaborators as writers of this musical will only be seen by members of the NAMT staff. No one on the NAMT staff will be evaluating your work through the reading process. Everyone who evaluates your musical in terms of whether or not it will be included in our festival will not see your name. Every show is read anonymously. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I just want to be clear. When we are asking for identifying biographical information about you, it will never be used as part of the evaluation of your work. all of our material is read anonymously so that everyone can get the same level playing field of consideration. Next, is there a commercial producer attached to your musical? There is no wrong answer here, and this is going to be a theme throughout this application. We ask these questions, but there is no answer that will give your musical a leg up. It's just the kind of thing that we need to know as we move forward through the process. So if there is a commercial producer attached, we just ask that you identify them and let us know how to get in touch with them. Next, you will see here that we are asking for information about a primary contact. This is going to be the person on the creative team of your musical with whom NAMT will have all of its interactions. If you are the only person who wrote your musical, congratulations, that's you. It does need to be an artist, but if you're on a team, there needs to be one person on your writing team whom we can contact when we need to. One moment, please, I'm going to take a drink. Next, we will need to know if the musical has been submitted before, when was it submitted? We would like to know how you heard about our festival for our own internal record keeping. And I want to now get to why are you submitting your show to the festival? The question here is, there are, again, no wrong answers. So don't think too hard about this. We just want to know, what is it about the festival that has appealed to you? What is it that you think makes an opportunity that you would like to pursue? Okay, before we move forward, does anyone have any questions about this portion of the application? Okay, Piper, you're on mic, if you'd care to.
Hi, yes. I was wondering what in the writers information section, if a dramaturg that has assisted in the writing of the script would be included in that.
No, it would only be composers, lyricists, and librettists.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, Colette, it looks like you have a question as well. I think you are muted. So
I
yeah.
believe I sent something a long time ago, just dug this thing, actually found this thing. So how do we find out how many times, or, you know, I said, I don't know, because I've submitted so many times to so many festivals. I don't know. I believe I only submitted once to NAMT.
So what would be important here is if the show that you are submitting now has been submitted to NAMT before. If you have submitted other shows to NAMT, that's not what we are looking for here.
No. It is this particular show, probably a lot of years hence. So we found it by accident, and we thought we'd resubmit it again.
Oh, well then, yeah, I would say that if you have a question about that, you can email info@namt.org with your question, and we can look that up.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I don't know what year or anything, so
yeah,
thank you.
No worries. Okay, Jeff. Okay, Jeff, yeah.
How about now?
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to take notes on what you had just said and then switch back and saw the, okay. Should I put a phone number in my contacts in case I've put the email address in my contacts, but my phone is silencing unknown callers.
So what you should do is go to NAMT's website and enter our office phone number and make it so that we're not an unknown caller. And then yes, do put a phone number.
Okay, enter office number of NAMT. Got it. And we'll be able to get this PowerPoint deck at the website you told us at the end of this presentation?
No, you won't, but this
okay.
presentation will be uploaded to our YouTube account. So you will find a link for that on the application page, probably by tomorrow afternoon.
Close enough. All right, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Christine, we've got time for one more question before we move on. So Christine, you are now, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to ask if you have written the book, the music and lyrics, but then you've been working with someone to do the orchestration. and you would be submitting demos that have their orchestration, should you include them in the list on the writers?
No, an orchestrator would not be considered a writer for our purposes. You would be the sole writer for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Now we're going to get to writer information. Again, this is just a look at the way that the fields are going to look. It's all very straightforward. For each person who is a writer on the show, we just need to know name, what role did you play? You can check as many are as applicable. Are you affiliated with ASCAP or BMI? If neither is the answer, that is also fine. We're going to need to know the address, the email, mailing address, email address, and phone number. And if the writer has an agent, we do need to know the name and contact information for that agent. Now, it is not a problem if you do not have an agent, but we do have to know who your agent is if you have one, because obviously if you move forward in the process, we have to loop your agent into that. And then we want a bio, no matter who you are, because we want to know a little bit more about your professional history. And then we ask for your pronouns, but that is optional should you choose to include them. Then you have the opportunity to add multiple writers. And if you add another writer, all of those fields will return. If you have more than 3 writers on your project, you will not be able to get the many options. You won't be able to get all the fields for any more than 3 writers. So you can list the names and contact information of any writers beyond 3. It doesn't tend to happen, but sometimes it does. Okay, this is a part that I think is very fun. I really do. And it's going to be very important that you take care with this section, because it's a chance for us to get to know you. And as we move into this portion of the application, I do want to just iterate, I haven't said it yet, so I can't reiterate it, that all of the elements of this application are designed to help our readers and committee understand your show. It is all done in the spirit of putting the best possible context around the work that our readers are experiencing. So that's why all of these things are here, including a 200-word artist statement. And as you will see here, we are asking you to tell us what motivates you to tell this story. Specifically, we know that writing a musical is sometimes a years-long endeavor, and we just really want to know, what is it that is keeping you connected to this musical day after day? We want to feel the excitement that you feel when you think about working on this project. So please, in around 200 words, let us know about that. What is the genre of your musical? Now, we are asking for the first genre, the one that is the most appropriate to describe the genre of your show. We realize that many shows have what can be considered more than one genre, but there's got to be one that you think is probably the most appropriate. But we also give you the opportunity to list additional genres where your musical makes sense, if that is something that you would like to do. This is going to be the portion of the application where you are asked about source material again. And if your musical does contain, as I said, copywritten source material, this is the place where you will upload the documentation that proves that you have the right to use it. We've already talked about that. Then we ask for a 100-word synopsis of the musical. Now, that is your marketing blurb, basically. What is the elevator pitch for the story of what this musical is about? This is not the place to tell us why you're passionate about it. This is the place to tell us what actually happens in the story. These things will be referenced by people who read and evaluate all the applications. So they are going to be things that people are really eager to have access to. Then I do see hands being raised. I'm going to get to the end of this section, and then I will be able to take all of your questions. Then we're also going to be asking for information about your show. For instance, we need to know the number of people in your ensemble, the number of people who are male identifying principals, female identifying principals, transgender or gender nonconforming principals, and your preferred ensemble size. By which I mean, in NAMT, our festival presentations are going to be excerpts of your musical. We, in our festival, present 45-minute staged readings of your musical. They contain a live band. We provide you with a stage manager, a music director, that sort of thing. But we are not producing your full show. This is a 45-minute excerpt. But what we want to know here is, if you are doing a full production, how many people are in the show? Because I should also add that NAMT itself can provide you with up to 10 performers. but we understand that many musicals have more than 10 performers in them. So again, let us know in a full production, as you imagine it, how many people are in the show. It's very important information for us to have. Then we would like to know about any unusual casting needs that your show might have. Children, animals, puppets, anything that feels a little bit out of the ordinary. We would like to know about those casting needs. We would also like to know about your ideal orchestra size and your ideal orchestra breakdown, meaning how many instruments do you have in your perfect version of the show, and what instruments are they? In your NAMT presentation, we will provide you with up to 3 musicians. Again, as with your ensemble size, we understand that you may have written a show that is intended for more than 3 musicians. But again, the NAMT festival presentation is not a full production, so that's why we like to keep these things in mind. Okay, now is the time to go back to questions. Okay, James, your show is 50% well-known songs. All have been licensed. Do you want PDFs of all? So we do not need a individual piece of paper that shows all of the licenses, but you do. I think that what you want to do there is just provide a sample license and then list all of the other songs for which the rights have been obtained, if that makes sense. Just show us one in an act of good faith, and then just list the names of all of the other songs where you have acquired the underlying rights. If your show moves forward into the festival, we actually will need all of that paperwork, but we don't need it right now. Okay, in the interest of time, because we do have a lot of information to get through, and this webinar is only going to be an hour, I do see that we have a lot of hands raised, so I'm going to start calling on some folks who haven't yet had a chance to talk, and hopefully their questions will become your questions as well. Renee, you are on stage, so please feel free to unmute, and hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Very well.
My question is this, it's about the gender breakdown
Yes.
of the ensemble. So within my piece, many of the characters they play, it's an ensemble, and sometimes males play females, females play males, and they rotate roles all over the place. So I'm trying to figure out how I would answer that question.
So what you could do here, in the number of transgender or gender nonconforming principles, you can just type text that briefly explains that.
Okay.
You can say that you have X number of people in the show who can be who play multiple roles, and we can interpret from there what you can tell us what you mean, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Let's see. Isabel, hello.
Hi, you hear me now?
Yes, hello, Isabel, yes.
So my question was about the source material, because the way it was worded, I believe, was something about source material that's included. So my show is based on a true story and a biography. We don't actually have like portions of those in the show. It's just based on it, but I do have the rights to all of that. So what
do you actually, you mean you actually went out and got the rights and you can prove that?
Yes, I have a contract with the person whose story it is, and I actually helped her write the book, but I have the rights to her life story and to her autobiography.
Absolutely upload that documentation.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, Anthony, you are on the stage, as it were.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hi. Yeah, I wrote these songs, well, some of the songs, and my friend wrote some of the songs, and one other song. Apparently, there are songs on the internet that people sort of donate and allow anybody to use them and do something with them. One of the songs is like that. It's just one that somebody was working on, and I just adapted it. Is that how do I legalize that?
I would say that you should upload a document that takes some sort of screenshot that proves that that is true and write a little
Oh.
explanation of what you just said to me, and that'll be good enough.
Good idea. And so my co-writer of the songs, I wrote some, he wrote some we wrote together. So I just put his name as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Because they're all original songs. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Susan, hello.
All right, two quick questions. One, what about racial casting in terms of the casting needs? And two, the artistic statement, if you have a close collaborator, I take it it's from both of you.
Okay, first question, yes, we would like to know in the, you'll see here, again, these are text fields. So if the male identifying principles include people that you as a writer want to be cast with people of particular ethnicities, then this is a good place to let us know. And if you have someone who is a close collaborator that you would like to work on your artist statement with you, yes, please do that. But do not sign your artist statement. Let me just stress that right now. We've had some applications coming in where that has been happening. Everything must remain anonymous, including your artist statement. So in your artist statement, you might want to say we, and then maybe put in parentheses the co-writers, but never use your actual names.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff.
Yes, the synopsis, you had said that this is the elevator pitch. So when I submit a full synopsis, I include the ending, but in my pitch, I don't include the ending. Should I be spoiling the ending in this particular synopsis that we're submitting?
Yes, absolutely you should.
Okay, good. That's the way I have it now.
Okay,
all right,
great,
thank you.
Mhm. And Piper.
Hi, yes. In terms of the casting number, in my show, one of the people that is technically like a tech person has a line. Does that count as being like one of the ensemble numbers or like a principal number?
No, for our purposes, no.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to move right along after I do that. Okay. Now we're going to get to the development production history. This is all very straightforward. We just want to know if your musical has had past readings, workshops, or productions. We want to know if there are any upcoming readings, workshops, or productions scheduled. It is not a deal breaker if you have a production scheduled, unless that production is on Broadway. We would like to know any awards, recognition, prizes, or nominations that this musical has received, not you as a writer, but the musical specifically that is being submitted. So very straightforward stuff. Again, none of these things are mandatory. It's not going to help or hurt your application for these things in either direction, but we do like to know these things as we keep internal records about the types of material that we are receiving through this process. Next, we are getting to the script and demo track upload section, and I anticipate that there will be questions at the end of this section, but again, I will take them when we get to the end of this section. We're going to need to upload a couple of things for us. First, a PDF of your script and a 20-page excerpt. Again, it is important that no one's name appear anywhere on your script or your excerpt. We'll get into the details of the excerpt in a moment. We need individual demo tracks. You can have up to 20 individual tracks that you will upload into the system. We'll get into that in a moment. And on top of that, we would like a zip file that contains all demo tracks. And if you have more than 20 demos, you can put them all into this zip file. This is a really crucial part of the process because there are people who are on our committees who evaluate musicals by listening to everything independent of the script. Everybody has their own process, and everybody will read everything and everybody will listen to everything, but some people listen to things separately and then they read, and we have found over the years it's just very important to let the readers have as many access points as they can into your material so that they can find their way through it with their own process. So that's why we ask for individual song uploads, and it's why we ask for a zip file that contains all tracks. You want to give people the chance to hear everything that you've got. I also want to say here, this is the place to remember to please remove metadata from your demo tracks that might include composer name, performer name, or production history. If you have titled your demo like Song 6 written by John Doe or Jane Doe, retitle it when you upload it for us. And if you were using a program like Logic or whatever, and you were typing in information and you input a composer information line on the metadata for your track, make sure that you remove it before you upload it for us. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably didn't do it, so do not worry about it. Okay, let's talk first about the script upload. This is the full script. It has to be in a PDF. That is the only format that we can accept. The script does need to include a title page, a character breakdown, and track listings for the demos that are included. Now, that is different from a listing of every song that's in the show. We just need to know the listings of the demos that we are going to be seeing. It's very important that we be able to match the moment in the script when we're supposed to push play on the script, on the demo track. So we just need to know in advance, which demos are we looking for as we read? Again, this is just, let me just reiterate one more time, our judging process is completely anonymized, no writer information. Okay, now the script excerpt. This is a portion of your script that will be used to evaluate your application in round 1 in particular. What we need are 20 consecutive pages of your script. Do not take three pages from here, 4 pages from over here, and then 5 pages from the end of the show. We need 20 consecutive narrative pages from your script. And though it is not required, I highly encourage you to choose 20 pages that contain songs that there are demos for, so that people can hear the music as they're reading along. Now, we do often encourage people to use the first 20 pages of their script because that tends to be a great way to set up the story and the experience for the reader. But maybe you feel that the strongest 20 pages that you want to submit are not your first 20 pages. That's fine. Maybe you want to submit pages 25 through 45. What we want you to do, if you are not submitting the first 20 pages, is include in this box that you see at the bottom of your screen here, a 50-word setup for your script excerpt. Just let us know what has happened in the story up to this point so that we can be oriented as we read. I'm going to take a brief moment here to see if there are questions regarding the script upload before we move on to the demos. Matthew asks, my show has the band on stage and the pianist in the band, who has been played by the music director, has spoken lines and songs. Do we include that role as part of our cast, even if it's being played by the music director? Yes, you do. That actually became something that was important for us to know with one of the shows that was in this year's festival. So anyone who has more than like a single throwaway line, but is actually a regular speaking character, we do need to know about them. Okay. If the workshop was self-produced, I would say you do not need to include information about self-produced workshops, Laser, to answer your questions. And MP3s are preferred, Ron. And if anyone else has any questions, I don't see. Okay, I do see one raised hand. Please hold. Let me find you. Aha, Gerard. You are up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Okay, good. So on the songs that are going, the 20 songs,
Yep.
my show is actually an opera. And so the first 20 pages, I'm including the end of the last song that's going in there, which takes me to page 23.
Mm-hmm.
Right to do so that it takes it through that song?
Totally fine. Yes, everyone who sees that will understand why you've done it that way, and it will be valuable because they'll get the complete experience of the song.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. And we have Mark. You are on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mark. Hello.
Hi. My question is, if our show has something like 20 songs, but we only have demos for 5 or 6, would
Mhm.
that be a weaker application? Like, do you really urge people to have most songs in demo form?
Here's what I will say. Make sure that your 20-page excerpt for round 1 has those demos in it. Don't give us 20 pages without them. If you move into round 2, it is going to strengthen your application if you have more demos. Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. And Anthony, I believe this is not your question from before, right? So I'm going to. I think you've raised your hand afresh. Maybe not. Or Isabel or Piper. I can't tell if you have new questions.
Yeah. I do.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you go.
Isabel, hi. Yes,
Yeah, so
Isabel,
this
hello.
is kind of a follow-up to Mark's question then, because you said something for the first round, something for the second round. How much time elapses between round 1 and 1, 2? I'm just wondering if you had fewer demos, but then you went on to round 2, if you'd had time to make more demos. So how much time is that?
I mean, it's honestly, that's a great question. And honestly, I was just sort of speaking off the cuff there. The process is pretty brief. The whole thing, the entire selection process is going to run from January through June, and that's 3 rounds. So, we have definitely had shows that have gotten into the festival that only had like 5 to 8 demos. It's not like it's a deal breaker, but it's just, it doesn't hurt if you have the time to make more. But don't feel like that you're going to get booted if you can't. We're not here to tell you, we also are, everyone who reads these are theater professionals. Everyone understands that people only have the resources to make what they can make, and no one's going to be penalized for that. So I would say, just if you only have a handful of demos, just make sure that you include all of them, include every demo that you've got, and especially include them in the 20-page excerpt. Okay, and Piper.
Yeah, hi. About the demos, should those only be audio, or if there's a video of them, should we not include the video?
Audio only, please.
Okay. And is a live performance okay?
That is absolutely fine. We get those all the time.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that, okay, here we go. And rolling right along. This is what it's going to look like when you start to upload your demos. You can click yes that you have more than 20 tracks. That will let the people who are reading the application know that they really should check out your zip file, which as you can see here, you can upload right there. We do again ask you to upload everything in a zip file, including the tracks that you upload individually. And then, as you can see here, you can upload all of, well, and to go back to the person who was asking the question about formatting, WAV files, AACs, M4As, those are all acceptable. It's just been my experience that people sometimes have a harder time playing those formats. So I would encourage you to use an MP3. But if for some reason you cannot provide that, or you feel strongly that the WAV file is the most important or valuable file format, that's fine. We can make it work. So this is just very simple. You just choose files from your computer and upload them 1 through 20 times. Okay, moving on. We also have an optional diversity survey, and I want to stress here that this is a portion of your demographic information that may become part of the conversation near the end of our round 3 selection process, but it will still not be connected to your name. We are very committed to making sure that each year's festival represents a wide array of voices and perspectives. And I am not just saying that as nice sounding talk. It is very important to us that our festival represent a wide array of genres, a wide array of musical styles, a wide array of voices and perspectives. So you are not required to fill out this information, and no show will be kicked out of the festival process if it doesn't include it. As recently as this year, there were shows in the festival where the writers did not respond to this survey. but it is something that may be utilized as part of the conversation. Again, there are no right or wrong answers, but I do want to disclose that this information may, in anonymous form, become part of the selection process. I have not included it here, but there is a checklist of things that you can select for yourself or your team in terms of communities with which you identify. And we have also added a box at the bottom of this page, which I have excerpted here. Are there other ways in which your writing team represents a typically underrepresented community? We don't profess to have the laundry list of every possible way that someone can represent a community, and we want to give you the chance to put your experience into your own words. That is why this is here. Now, at this point, you will almost be there, so that's going to be very good. All you have to do is certify that everything you've done is true, and you want to provide the full name of the person who has filled out this form, including, that's going to be especially important if for some reason you need someone to help you fill out the form because of accessibility reasons, even though that person is not the primary contact. That's the type of thing that we want to know here. But no matter who it is, make sure that you put your name there. If you submit after December 20th, you will be charged a $30 submission fee that will run through January 10th. You will only see this credit card payment screen if you submit after December 20th. But until then, all applications are free to submit. And then all you have to do is either save your draft or submit. And just so you know, the Submittable program auto saves your work as you go, so you're not going to lose anything. It really is actually a very user-friendly program in that way. And if you have some errors, you will see something like this. You may have seen this on many other forums if you've ever shopped online. The area that has a problem is going to pop up in red. Maybe you haven't filled out something that's required. Ooh, maybe you've entered 117 words when we've asked you for a 100-word synopsis. The program will call you out on that. And you know, the machine, it knows all. They are going to want you, if there are things that you're filling out that are not in the right format, they're going to let you know. And once you get to this page, that means you have submitted successfully. Outstanding. Now, your primary contact person will receive an email that looks essentially like this. It won't be from my predecessor in this role, Sierra. It will be from me. But you should look for this email to the primary contact after you have gotten the screen that looks like this. This is a great way to test whether or not Submittable is cleared in your email system. And now, before we move on to the overall submission timeline, I wonder if anyone has any lingering questions about this application that we have just breezed through. Yes, Piper, hello again.
Hi again. Sorry, I forgot to ask this earlier when we were talking about the rights to things. If you have a piece in the show that is inspired by a particular artist and you mention that, like one of the lines mentions that that artist is an inspiration for a specific piece, but it's not like their work, like do you have to get permission from them or their estate?
No, that's going to fall under the fair use artistic interpretation parody law, so you'll be completely fine there.
Oh, okay, awesome. So even if I'm like this, like even if the song title has that composer's name in it as like a thanks, is that?
To give you an example, this year we had a show called TLDR, Thelma Louise Dyke Remix, which explicitly references the movie Thelma and Louise over and over and over again.
Amazing.
And they didn't have to get the rights because it's explicit. It's very obvious that they are making an aesthetic interpretation of Thelma Louise's place in the culture.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Oh, wait, also I had another question. Sorry.
Okay.
About the 2 deadlines. Is there is there preference given for earlier submitted things?
No, not at all. No one who reads your application will know when it was submitted because nobody starts reading until everything has come in. Okay. It's just that is just a way of it helps us logistically to make sure that we get as many as early as we can, but there's no punishment at all for not being ready until the last day.
Okay, thank you.
No
very
worries.
much.
Yeah. Okay, Margot. Hello.
Hello. I'm just wondering, where can we find the recording after we're done with this webinar?
So on namt.org/festival, which I will show you that on the screen again, the link will be posted at the very top of that page. God willing, by the end of tomorrow, but certainly by the end of this week.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lito, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Quick question. This may be advanced, but about the demos, for example, if I sing all the demos, but in the story, it's a woman singing it, when you say the play has to be finished, does it have to be notated for the band, or does the musical director you get arrange your music and change keys, or?
Great question. So if you are singing every demo, that is completely fine. We get that all the time. Once we get to the festival process, NAMT will provide you with a music director who can talk to you about orchestrations and such. Orchestrations are the only part of the festival process that NAMT is not able to pay for, but we can connect you with people who can help you get your show orchestrated if you need. But anyway, yes, that's the only expense that would be incurred, is orchestrating the pieces. But your show is considered, a draft is considered complete without any score notations or things like that. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Okay, sorry, just scrolling. Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte.
Hi. So I have a handful of songs that are studio recorded with professional vocalists and actors. And then I have a bunch of songs that are me recording on a decent mic, you know, I mean, and I've used them to send to musicians who are making the scores of the music for me. Do you suggest that I include, and I used to sing in a band for many years, so it's not like I'm a total rookie singer.
Right.
Would you suggest that I include those recordings as well as the studio recorded really great recordings, or just the studio great recordings?
The selection committee, especially for rounds 2 and 3, is not going to penalize you for being the only vocalist. And I think that getting a sense of the flow of a song, the energy of a song, is important. So I would encourage you to include them, yes.
Okay, even if it's like some of them are ensemble pieces and I'm doing all the different parts, but if you're reading along with the script, you'll be able to tell that.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, you want to just like give people a chance to really get the flavor of your work, and the flavor is so much more potent if you can just hear something.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
Cool, thank you. Okay, wait, sorry. Why is this acting up? Okay, here we go. And Christopher Guile, hello.
Oh, hey, I put it in the chat too. If you have a score already done, a piano vocal score, do you want that included with the script, or?
No, that is something that will be asked for. That is something that will be asked for if you have it in round 3. So no need to worry about that right now.
Groovy.
A little fun fact, a little preview of what could happen in round 3. Okay, Christine Duncan, hello.
Hello. So about the demos, if you have computer generated background for everything that reflects all the instruments, does NAMT still have you use just the 3 instrumentalists for presentation in NAMT?
It is our strong recommendation that yes, you do that. And it is also part of our commitment to creating an equal playing field in terms of resource distribution among our 8 participating projects. But we can have a conversation about that should the need arise, because there are certain times when it becomes clear that we can make exceptions, but it really would just be about having a conversation with us to really understand your artistic goals and making sure that we are working together to meet them.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And Renee.
Hi there. I have a couple questions. One is from earlier. I put it in the chat, but I'll ask it now.
Oh, apologies. It's hard. I have a hard time.
No
tracking
worries. No worries. I've just figured I'll ask it now, which is the first one is from, like I said, a couple pages back. But if my material is inspired by actual events,
Mhm.
and those events happened back in the 20s, and they were covered in the news, reported in the newspapers, and that became my source material. Do I need to worry about any kind of rights, even though it's someone's life that
No,
I
you
kind
don't.
of fictionalize? Okay.
The only time that
Okay.
you would need to worry about it is if you were adapting a biography or something that had
Oh.
been published by a publishing house or something like that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No
My sec-
problem. Oh,
thank- my
sorry.
s-
Yes, carry
yeah,
on.
my other question, just in general. So my understanding is if we submit by December 20th, then you don't have to pay the $30 submission fee. Are there other fees that are involved to be aware of, even if you should go further, or, as just thinking about
Mhm.
financial preparation?
The only things that any artist in our festival are asked to cover are travel to New York City for the festival itself. And we're actually looking into that. So right now that is true, but we are looking into options there, and orchestrations of the material that is going to be presented. Otherwise, NAMT pays for everything. There are no additional fees to be. The only time that there's any fee associated with applying is the $30 fee. And then
Okay.
all artists in our shows, we pay the cast, we pay the directors, we give the writers a stipend, we pay the music director, we pay the stage manager, we cover the cost of the venue, we cover the cost of the lighting, we cover everything.
Okay, and so that brings me to my last question, which is, if you have someone you've been working with who's also the composer, is it does NAMT always decide who the musical director is? Or if there's somebody that you'd like to throw their hat in the ring, how does that work?
The only thing that we say is that if you are a writer on the show, you cannot be a director or music director on the show.
Okay.
Writers must just be writers in our process, and that is not punitive. It's just that we really have found over 34 years that the more writers get more from the process if they can just focus on the writing. But that being said, we will work with you to find a music director, and we don't just hand you a music director. You can
Okay.
research the music directors and find the right one. We are very committed to making sure that your team is the right team.
Terrific. Thank you. I just wanted to know. Thank you so much.
No, my problem. No problem. My pleasure. Let me go through some of the questions I see here in the chat. Yuriko asked, she saw $70 on that response email. When that is because it's an old email. Ignore that. The application fee is $30 for those who submit after December 20th. Andrew, no, we do not need demos of incidental or transition music. That's a great question. And in fact, I would even say short reprises with vocals, not really necessary, especially if you don't have them already. Do not worry about making demos of reprises or incidental or transition music. Christopher asked about the score. We've already talked about that. Excellent, moving right along. Let me go over here. Okay. As part of a demo, James, can you submit a commercial recording of a song? Yes. Ron, does a new scene need a page break? What's important, Ron, is that the script is easily readable. So we will leave that up to your judgment. Jeff, will you ask? Okay, Jeff, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to need you. I'm going to do my best to remember what they are, but I think it's going to actually be easier for you to just raise your hand so you can come on mic and ask, because I only remember one of them and I don't want to forget anything. Well, and I'll let Jeff raise his hand because I can't find him in the meantime, Christine.
Well, here I am. Okay,
Okay, Jeff, great. So Christine, hold on.
Okay, I pasted it into the chat box, but in so doing, I lost the unmute button. Yeah, so I'm assuming that the title page can have a graphic and have based on and have the copyright like in the sample script, just as long as it's not my name.
Correct.
Copyright year. Okay. And do you need, I saw that the sample script had a song list.
Yes, we do need a song list. We need a song
list. So you
list
want that in the script, in the opening pages?
Correct, yes. And it needs to make sure that any demo is listed in that song list.
Yes, yeah. I mean, in the script, I have the lyrics and it says number 1 and here's the song.
Exactly right.
I'll add a page that says song list.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now in the interest of time, because it is 7:01, I just want to now take us quickly through the timeline here. As you can see, the applications are going to be coming in November through January. Round one adjudication will be happening January through March. Everyone will hear whether or not they have made it into round two. Round two adjudication happens March through May, and at that point we will go from, we will pick 20 finalists. The 20 finalists will then be, if you have been alerted that you've made it to round two, we will then let you know if you have made it to round three. There will be 20 finalists that make it to round three. Round three adjudication will take place in May and June. And of course, if you are in round three as a finalist, you will be told what happens then. This is all, this timeline exactly, this graphic is on our website, so you can reference it easily. And speaking of referencing, we've talked about the deadlines. And here it is again, namt.org/festival and mark@namt.org. That's how you get to me in case you have any additional questions as well. Okay, for the purposes of our time, I do want to say that this is going to conclude our official portion of our webinar. I do thank everyone for participating. I know that there may be some questions that I have not yet had a chance to answer, but do feel free to reach out to me at this email address and I will make sure that I answer them. Now I'm going to stop this sharing of my screen and I am going to cut off the recording there, but I actually can stick around for another like 5 minutes. So let me say that if there's anyone who still has a burning question, I do have another 5 minutes in which I can answer it. Katie, thank you, it was great to have you. So Anthony, I see your hand is up. So if you would like to come on mic, you have that option.
Hi again. Yeah, sorry. I have an introductory narrative that comes in over a speaker. Do I include a demo of that, or is that okay just in the script?
Just put that in the script. That'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's see. Christine, hello.
Thank you so much. Is there a place where it lists out what the requirements are on that title page?
Yeah, so if you go back through the application, you'll see on the place where you upload your excerpt and where you upload your full script, we do explicitly tell you what we would like on those pages.
And then what 3 instruments does NAMT provide?
Depends on the show. We almost always have a piano, and that is almost always played by your music director, but then we work with you to figure out what the other 2, well, and I should say we actually provide 3 musicians. So sometimes musicians will play multiple instruments, and we work with you to figure out what your show needs and how we can provide it for you within those constraints.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm going to take 2 more questions. Susan, hello.
Hi. Show the final deadline again for round 1, please.
December 20th.
December 20th for no pay. And what's drop dead?
January 10th.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, and I have time for 1 more question. Ooh, Piper.
Hi, it's me again. The question I have is like about if there is a very key visual component to the show that is like the main thing, or not the main thing, but if there's a very key visual component to the show, how would we represent that in the submission? Like, should we include images in the script of it?
Do you mean like there's like a projection or like a?
Yeah, the show is based around a PowerPoint. So
okay.
So the PowerPoint itself is like the show. I mean, not the only, like it's an important part of the show. So I just am wondering how that would be. Would that be like screenshots of it in the script, do you think, or video?
Yeah, I would say I would encourage you not to require a video portion. So screenshots that are clearly legible added into the script
Great.
would be a good solution, I would say.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, and you know what, Lito, I'm not going to leave you hanging. You're the only person who's got his hand still up. So
Sorry. It's a quick question. Wait, can you hear me?
yes, I sure can.
So composers not allowed to perform?
No, we do. We ask that the composer and everyone who is a writer on the show, we ask that you just serve as a writer.
And then the title page and the song page, is that included in the 20 pages?
No, your introductory material, that's not what we mean. We want 20 pages of actual content of narrative.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you all very much for attending today. I encourage you to reach out to me, like I said, and I'm really glad to have been able to speak to you. Goodbye, everyone.